Hello.
Hi.
Well, welcome to Profound Experience of Poetry. This is like a bonus feature of the Profound Experience of Poetry book club, which I started last summer. And if anybody wants to join us, the book club meets every second Sunday on Zoom. We vote on all the books that we read. We just selected our 20th title, which is Bad Bad by Chelsea Minnis. And I'm really excited to be here talking to Caroline today. My name's Lucy. I'm I founded Profound Experience and Shabby Dollhouse. I'm a writer and an editor. I'm in France at the moment, and I wanted to do this like series of conversations with people in and around the book club, sometimes like with people whose books we read. And also I want to talk to the people who come to the meetings because they're all really talented. And I just thought it would be like a nice opportunity to record a moment in our lives that's really strange, so that we can listen back to it in the future, and also just so that we can have a nice time and talk together now, because otherwise we probably wouldn't. Um, so yeah, hopefully people can listen and half watch while they're like doing things in their house. You don't have to stare at us the whole time. You can go and cook or fold laundry or whatever you want to do. But yeah, today I'm talking to Caroline Rayner, and would you care to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Caroline. I'm obviously a member of the Profound Experience of Poetry book club. I've been there since the beginning. It's a delight. I love it. Um, what else is there to say about myself? I'm a writer and recently a teacher again, kind of. I've started teaching some classes about like I've been teaching this class called Writing the Moon, or I'm not teaching it right now, but I did teach it earlier this year, and I'm going to be teaching it again. I'm just doing that on Zoom, which has been fun. And what else? I feel like, should I tell people where to find my writing online? Like, I feel like I'm like making a commercial of myself right now.
That's okay. I'm sure it'll all just come out in the conversation, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, so you've been like in the book club since the very beginning, and I feel like you've been at all of them. Like I think you've read every book, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think the only one that I missed was was just something we did like on an off week, and I just like put it
Yeah,
off. So I've been
I
to
know.
every.
And yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was like one reason why I wanted to talk to you at the beginning, because you are an iconic member. Um, and also because like we just did last week, we did a thing where everybody who normally we read books, right? But also everybody's a writer, or a lot of we all knew each other as writers. Some people might have joined since who some people are also artists, different things, musicians. Everybody's different, but it came out of Profound Experience, which is a writing thing, which came out of Shabby Dollhouse, which is a writing thing. So there's a lot of writers in the reading club. But last week we did this thing where everybody was invited to like come and read some of their own work, and you read, um, and I was like, oh my god, you're so good. Like I see you like talking about like all the books that we read, but it's like, oh no, like you can't forget that everybody is like really great in their own right. So I wanted to like uh focus on that too. Kind of a difficult thing to respond to, not really a question. um but I actually the way we met was well, the way we first came to know each other was because your poems, right? The first time I think we're in Shabby Doll House in like 2015.
Yeah, I think there
I
were like
think.
3 poems. Was it 2015? Yeah, it was 2015. Or was it
Yeah, which is a long time ago now, 6 years.
Yeah.
And I think like when you read, it's just like a cool thing when you read submissions and like somebody's work really stands out and you're like, I don't have no idea who this person is, but like we definitely should publish it. And then like as time goes on, like you start to form like a fuller picture of like who it actually is, this person, because you just have these sort of fragmentary details that might not even be really about them. But and then one day you're just like a full person. Which, should we talk about how we actually met in person?
Yeah, we should tell that story because it's like so funny and strange.
Yeah. So that, yeah, you said.
Oh, how was I? So I guess like since I guess like after my poems were in Shabby Doll House, we kind of like just became friends on the internet. And I was I guess it was maybe like I feel like it was about a year or so after my poems were in Shabby Doll House ish. Sometime like kind of around then. And I was in Boston for a show. I was with my friend Chris, who's one of my good friends from grad school, and we were going to a show, and we were just kind of like walking around Cambridge, like doing whatever, killing time before the show. And I like saw these people on the sidewalk, and I was like, what is that? I think I just saw Lucy. And I was like thinking that in my head. And then I was like, how do I like tell? And then it was so like funny and weird. I was like, how do I explain that I just like saw this person that I like know, but I like don't know, like that I know like on the internet, but not like in real life. But I think I just like saw them in real life. So then I said, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Because I lived in Germany at the time.
Yeah,
like, I lived in. I didn't. There would be no reason why I would be there.
Yeah, and that's like also why it was so shocking to me, because I was like, wait, you're here, but I don't think you live here. How did you get here? Yeah, and then I just like sent you a Facebook message, and I was like, I think I just saw you on the street. I know this is really weird, but
it is really weird because like in my life, I feel like I probably spent like 4 evenings in Boston, and like that one is the only one in the last like 10 years. like that's the only night that I've been there. And so it's super weird that we both were in Cambridge. Like we had, the only reason I was there was because I was like flying, like it was like a layover. Like we were flying to Seattle, I think, the next day or something. And then and then also I wouldn't have had like Wi-Fi. Like at that time, like whenever you were like went to the US, it's like you don't have Wi-Fi on your phone or whatever. So I think we like went in a restaurant and I like got on the Wi-Fi and then like looked at my phone and I was like, Caroline Rayner is just saw us. And then I think I said like, oh, okay, well, like come to wherever we are if you want, like if if you're not busy. And then you were going to a show or something, so we had like an hour.
Yeah.
Or maybe not even.
Yeah, we had like just enough time to like have some wine together. And
yeah, I remember we like sat outside a bar and drank a bottle of wine like quite fast, and then you had to go, and it was like, did that even like really happen?
Yeah,
that was funny.
Yeah.
And that was when you were living in, you didn't live in Boston either, like you lived in Northampton, you were doing your MFA.
Yeah. I was in Northampton, and I was just like in Boston for the day. Like, I'm trying to think. I feel like, yeah, I would only ever go to Boston if there was like a show or something, and usually I would just like drive there and then like drive right back, and that was the only time where I happened to spend like more than just like the time of the show like in Boston. So
Well, it worked out really well because then once we'd had that introduction, then we did like a lot more things together. Like we did like, well, basically we went on a tour like
yeah,
a couple of years later,
yeah,
and yeah, so that might, yeah, it's weird. Like other things might not have happened if we hadn't have both been there on
yeah,
that day.
yeah.
It's crazy. Um, so I guess I'm kind of, I realized like I interviewed you about the Moan Wilds like 3 years ago, well, not really interviewed you. Like when you finished your MFA, you sent me your manuscript that you had at the time.
Oh yeah, forgot that I
I
did
just,
that.
yeah, and I mean, I like had totally forgotten that any of this happened, but I um sort of we did like a thing in the Shabby Doll Reader where I basically wrote like some thoughts I had about the book, and then just said, please respond to them however you want. And then you did. And it's like really interesting. Um, but I guess I wanted to ask, like, you've been working on the same project for quite a long time now. And like, how does that feel?
Yeah, it feels, there's definitely part of me that's like, oh my god, I've been doing this forever. Like, why is it taking me so long? But I guess the project has kind of, it's changed so much like since I like first like started working on it and like put the like draft together that was my like grad school thesis or whatever. It like kind of started out being this kind of like lightly like fictionalized like narrative, or not like quite narrative, but just like collection of kind of fragments about like these about like people that I was friends with when I was living in Charlottesville, Virginia. It was just kind of like about those people and about like that time in my life. And as I've been working on it more, I've been trying to kind of get outside of that like specific time and those like specific people, and kind of and just kind of make it about like something kind of more general. Like it's kind of becoming about like just being social more generally in a way.
Being social?
Yeah, I guess I feel like I like kind of recently realized that the whole book is kind of about like being at parties, which feels like a strange thing to be working on, as like no one is going to parties right now. But what else am I? Yeah, I like lost track of like what else I was going to say.
Do you think of yourself as a social person?
Not at all, which is why it's like kind of funny to be working on a project that's like so much about that. No, I mean, I guess, well, I'm not like, well, I'm trying to like figure out how I want to say this. I feel like I have kind of like a low like capacity for being social. I'm like a very hermetic person naturally. Like I would just like, I'm fine just like being by myself and like doing my own thing or whatever. But this like curtain is very dramatically blowing in my face. But at the same time, I guess I am really interested in like the kinds of like like ideas and like feelings and experiences that come up when you're like thrown into a random group of people and you have to kind of figure out like how to exist and like and like I'm just looking at my notebook. I was kind of like trying to work through this idea a little bit before we started talking. Yeah, I'm just interested in like the like aesthetics of that, the like erotics of that, like the kind of performances that people put on, the kind of stuff that can come up about like power and care and about like just the kind of like time that like exists or can like arise when you're just like gathered in a group of people like outside of like the like whatever capitalist pressure to be productive or whatever. I feel like I'm like just starting to like ramble and I'm not sure if that's like making any sense, but
yeah, but it's interesting because I mean, do you find it, I assume like you're not really pieing at the moment, so is it like difficult to like conjure up that feeling of what it's like? I
I
mean,
think I guess it in a way it kind of is because I'm just relying so much on like on memories and kind of like on like memories and then kind of like expanding on those memories and turning them into more like dramatic or poetic situations than whatever actually happened. And so
and
yeah.
so do you like, it feels like there is, or at least from like what I read like a little bit and like an excerpt that you sent me, and I read something like a few years ago, but it feels like there is a narrative of like there's like a pushing forward. I don't like, which you in a way that like you don't usually get in a poetry book, or you don't always get in a poetry book. Um, but you kind of shied away from the word narrative before.
Yeah. I feel like I guess narrative always feels like so close to plot to me, which just feels close to this kind of like linear structure of like one thing causes another thing to happen and then it like there's like the beginning and the middle and end and it's like this like neat package and I just like don't want to do that. I want to do something that's like a lot more like layered and kind of like cyclical and like messier and like just like more complex. I feel like I just want to do something and like write something that's more complicated than like the word narrative like gives space for. Although maybe I'm not giving that word like enough credit, but to me it has always felt so linear.
Yeah. And what does it feel like? Like you did a lot of it, or you wrote a version of it. You wrote something during the MFA, and then you've kept going. Like, what does it feel like doing that? Like within that system, and then without, or afterwards.
Um I guess I feel like so much of what of like so much of what I wrote during the MFA and just what ended up being my thesis like I don't know. So much of it was just kind of driven by like having to get it done like by a certain time. And so I like look back at some parts and I'm just like, this is like so unfinished. Like this is like me, which is fine. Like I kind of like understood at the time that I was gonna be working on the manuscript a lot more after the MFA and all of that. But it's like, I don't know, I guess it's funny to look back on some parts that just feels like they're notes for some for like kind of a notes towards some like bigger idea that I like hadn't totally fleshed out yet. And there's some parts where I look back and I'm like, oh, I can still kind of access what I was trying to get at then. And then there are other parts where I'm just like, this is stupid. I have to just get rid of it. I'm just like I just don't care anymore.
Yeah. How do you look back on like the MFA? Like, do you think it's like a good idea to do it, or like maybe that's like a whole complicated thing, but just
it's definitely a complicated thing. I guess what I always kind of say about the MFA is like I'm excited about like a lot of the writing that I did in the MFA, like the kind of the work that I did. And I kind of like who knows? I don't know that I would be like working on like the kind of stuff that I'm working on now, like had I not kind of gotten it started in the MFA. At the same time, the MFA was like a total like social nightmare. Just like I feel like so. Well, I don't know. I don't care if anyone gets mad at me for saying that. It was like a social nightmare. I like met some of the most like evil, toxic people I've ever met in my entire life. I met them during the MFA, which is something I'm just like, I'm not going to get into it now. If like someone wants to know the story, they should like just ask me. I'll tell you what happened. So that was kind of like, fucked up. And then just the program itself was just in this like weird state of flux the whole time I was there. Like one professor had like just died, and like when I started there was just like one, and then like another professor was on sabbatical, and so there was just like one person running the whole like poetry program who was like the wife of the professor who had died, so she was like grieving and trying to like run this whole like poetry program like by herself. And everyone just felt like all of the poets just felt kind of like abandoned the whole time. And it was just, and we all like, so many people just felt like so bad.
Oh no.
I don't know.
Okay.
I also want to say, it like, even though there were like a lot of terrible people that I encountered in the MFA, there are also like, I did make like some very good friends. I don't want, if like my friends from grad school are watching this, I don't want them to feel left out. So just like, shout out to those people. You know who you are, I guess.
But if you have any questions about the other people,
if you want to hear the drama, you can just like slide into my DMs, as they say.
Wow, there's always poetry drama.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course there is, I guess.
Yeah.
So like we recently read Alice Notley. We in the book club we read The Descent of Alette, and like one thing that we kind of like talked about a little bit is how in an interview she said that she had no predecessors And like predecessor isn't really a word that I sort of used too often before, but now I like think of it all the time. And I'm just wondering, like, who do you see as your predecessors, and do you have any?
My predecessors. I guess I'm kind of thinking of, well, I feel like I feel like if someone who's your predecessor is different from somebody you're just like influenced by. Like,
Yeah, I guess it is, right?
yeah, I feel like,
It,
I feel like
it
I,
can just be it can just be who you're influenced by.
yeah, I feel like my number one predecessor is probably CD Wright, um, who's I wasn't sure if I would need like, well, I have my laptop like balanced on some books, but I was also like, oh, maybe I'll need to like refer to these for some reason. Um, so um, this is her book Deep Step Comes Shining,
Hmm.
which is amazing. It's like this book length poem that's this like weird, haunted, like fucked up road trip through the South, and that's like everything that I'm interested in. So
Wow.
um, she kind of feels like the most like direct predecessor. And as far as like other people that I'm like influenced by, Anne Carson, Lisa Robertson, Fred Moten, David Berman. Who else do I have? What else do I have here? Sela Satterstrom is somebody who I kind of discovered recently, who is amazing. Um, who else? Carrie Lorig is amazing. Ella Longpra is amazing. Laura Mimosa Montez. Who else? Banu Kapil. I'm trying to think if there's anyone I'm forgetting. Those are some of the big ones for sure.
And I'm interested in like when did poetry come into your life? Like what happened when you realized that you liked poetry? Or did you always like poetry?
I feel like I always kind of like poetry. I'm trying to think of when I like kind of when I decided to get like serious about it. It's funny, I remember taking poetry workshops in college, and like I remember taking one my first year of college and just feeling like it's like not like I felt bored by it. I felt very like like constrained. I was just like it was like like I can't even like do anything in a poem. It's just so short. It's so there's like you like I wanted to do so much more than that. And of course, like now I know that you can do like anything you want and you can go on as long as you want. But at that time, I was like, this is so like I don't like this. And so then I like took a bunch of fiction workshops, but I was like always writing these kind of just like weird rambling like poetic things, and everyone was always like, but like what's happening here? And I was always like, it doesn't matter. So and yeah, and then I like kind of like got into like music journalism stuff, but like I was but those like all of that was also kind of like secretly poetry. And then I don't know, and then at a certain point, well, no, not at a certain point, I can remember like very specifically. um I remember, I mean, a lot of it had to do with like finding Shabby Dollhouse, honestly. Like I guess I had felt like it's like after I initially like thought poetry was boring in college, then I kind of like got more interested in it. But then there were like, but I also felt like I just like this. It's funny. I mean, I'm just like a bit of a tangent. This sheer curtain that keeps like blowing into my face is reminding me of one of the poems in Homie that like the title is something like,
oh yeah.
about like a 90s music video and like sheer fabric blowing around. So I love that there's kind of like a secret shout out to that happening right now.
Yeah. I'll have to like put the link to the poem in the description
Yeah.
if it's online.
Yeah. Where was I? Oh yeah. So then like later on in college, I was like, I kind of like want to like be more of a poet. But then there were like some people who were like, there was like an undergraduate like poetry program that I like wasn't in, but I like knew some people who were in it, but like they were like the real poets and I felt like a fake poet. And then
were they boys?
No, there were some. They weren't they weren't all boys. And like everyone was cool and like they were my friends, but I also felt like kind of left out.
I always felt like that too. Like people were like, "Oh, we're like the serious like musicians or whatever," and you're just a girl who wants to like play the guitar, or or like who wants to write something down, and you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just makes you feel like, okay, well that must be like true then, right?
Yeah.
like how do you know it?
Yeah. And I just felt so like behind or something. I was like, oh, I haven't like done enough. I haven't like done enough or like read enough. I'm just not like, it's just like too late for me. I just like can't be a poet, I guess.
How old were you?
I was like 20, 21. Like it's like, I guess at that point, like everything always feels like so dramatic and like the end of the world, like, no matter what.
That's so funny though. You're so young. Like who's even started?
Yeah. It's like truly like it didn't matter, but that's like impossible to see when you're like 21 and like everything feels like a mess or like a disaster or just like dramatic in whatever way. Yeah. But then like a couple years after that, I remember like just like reading stuff on Shabby Dollhouse and I was like, oh, this feels like I like this feels like writing that I want to be doing, and it's like reflecting like experiences that feel very like familiar to me, and it just like it made poetry feel so much more accessible. And like there are people like people that I like wanted to like know and like be friends with, like who were writing it, and like that's all kind of come true, I suppose.
It's such a revelation, isn't it, when you like find out first of all that there are like people who are actually doing things. Like maybe some people like know that the whole time, but feels like a lot for a lot of people. It's like we grow up and we like have a few friends, but we're like basically alone, and we like read books or listen to music or whatever, and you're like, who are like those people are like from the past or they're already dead or whatever, and like everything's already happened, and then like when you find out like now there's just like some people making a website.
Yeah.
It's like it's like wow. I mean that's like why. Well, I just like started Shabby Doll House because it was like, oh, there are these people making these websites. I don't think they're. I don't think we have the exact same like uh vision for like what we want to do. Like what's oh I know I'll just start my own, like that's no problem, or it's like or it was kind of a problem but it was like feasible, right?
Yeah.
um And so it's like, I mean, it's amazing. But also I think it's like part of like me doing that is like, well, the whole reason for me doing that is like wanting to find what, yeah, I, I was going to correct myself and say was wanting to find, but still is wanting to, doing all this stuff. It like is wanting to find other people who are like us, who we can be friends with and like do things together. So it's working, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's so many people. I feel like there are like so many people who like. I mean, I guess some of whom I've like met like IRL, and some of whom are like mostly just like internet friends. But like so many people who are so like important to me and like big parts of my life, like those relationships all kind of go back to Shabby Dollhouse in a way, which is really cool.
Yeah, for me too. Um, yeah, and that's been actually one like really one of the great things about the pandemic um has been like for me has been like sort of revisiting or not revisiting but like there's a through like doing this book club and like doing the quarantine last year, like we've like we've like not accumulated but like we've met all these like new people who we didn't know before, and that's like really exciting. And then also all these people who like I have known for a long time who like haven't worked together on something, like now I'll see them all the time like on the screen, but still we get it's like continuing conversations that like started like 7 or 8 or 9 years ago or whatever. And I don't know, just like it's quite a long time now, right? Like to have been doing this stuff, like it's when you're like really young and 21 or whatever, and you're like, it's over for me. I'm, like,
But like little did I know.
yeah, you can't like imagine that like it'll be, I don't know, that these like it's like a lifetime uh endeavor, right? Like it's we're gonna be doing this stuff. Well, I am. I think you are too. Like until we are dead,
Yeah,
right? So like,
yeah,
and we're gonna be surrounded with the same people and new people, and it's just like I don't know. It would be impossible to do any of it without each other.
yeah,
Not just you and me, but like all of us, right? So
yeah.
um yeah, so to go back to like the time thing, like do you think like you'll ever feel finished on the Moan Wilds? Like how will you know like, oh no, I don't need to write this book anymore?
I feel like I feel like once I don't know, it's tricky because I definitely feel like it's something that I could just like work on forever. I'm such an obsessive like perfectionist. Like just as a writer, I just like could like just move things around and like edit forever. But I feel like I like once I kind of like I have like once I get to the end of I guess like the kind of my like process right now is I'm just like going through the like draft that was my thesis, and I'm kind of and I have like notes for how I want to reorganize things and rewrite things. And I think once I finish going through all of that, and once I kind of like I guess I'm always thinking about like dividing the book into like sections in some way. Once I get the kind of organization sorted out, then then it'll feel like, I don't know if it'll feel like if it's like totally finished, but it'll feel like something that I can like send to my friends and be like, can you tell me if you think this is like cool or not? Or like, I mean, it would be more complicated of a conversation than that, but.
And do you feel like you have like room in your, like, do you have the capacity to like work on other stuff at the same time, or is it like all consuming doing this one?
It's like, no, I guess I do have like capacity to work on other stuff. Like right now I'm like taking a couple like workshops right now, and I'm like, well, it's funny because I'll like work on stuff for that, and kind of like I'll be working on it and I'll think that it's separate, and then I'm like, oh, I can just put this in my book. So it's kind of, I don't know, I guess it's hard to resist just like putting everything that I do now like into the Moan Wilds.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like everything is like is like the word that I would use to describe it. Like it's like a real like force. Um, so I can, yeah, I don't know. Like, or the word that I like wrote on my phone to describe it is tornado.
Yes, I love that. That's my hope for it. It's also it's funny that you mentioned tornado because so like for years, like different groups of people have been trying to get me to play Dungeons and Dragons with them, and I finally this past weekend
Yes.
not like the same people for years, but just like there are just phases where like people I know will be like, we're playing like D&D, and I'm just like, no thank you. And then like this weekend I was finally convinced, and I had to come up with a name for my like whatever wizard character, and like tornado was the only word I could think of.
Wow.
So that's my name. So
wow. Cool. Well, I don't know if that's cool or not, but
yeah, I'm not really sure either.
I don't really know what it is. I guess I shouldn't I don't know. I don't really need an opinion on it.
Yeah, I don't know either, frankly. just seeing what happens.
Yeah. So do you feel like the having this experience of like a pandemic, has that affected your approach to writing at all? Like, do you feel changed from that perspective? Like you want to do something different with it, or?
It kind of for a long time it kind of like slowed down my whole like writing process. Like I feel like I don't know, I feel like I just got so like just depressed about everything, and I just felt like I couldn't write for a long time. I was just like, I don't even know how to like access like a creative or like poetic or whatever headspace. But then I don't know, it wasn't until probably like I feel like probably like the like December, January that I was finally like, okay, I want to like have this be a part of my life again. And I guess I don't know how much well, maybe it's just because I have like so much time to kind of think about it, but like I've just been thinking lately that I want to just like prioritize poetry and prioritize writing like as much as I can in like every part of my life, and just kind of like be as like absorbed in it as possible and just be very like obsessive about it, I guess.
Yeah. Does it make you, yeah, I guess I sort of had a question in mind, which was, do you think you want to like, well, to follow on from there, like, does it make you write differently? I was going to ask, does it make you want to live any differently? But you kind of answered those together. Like, you want to live differently but writing more.
Yeah.
And what about like when you were teaching the first workshop that you did that, I mean, I guess I'm just interested to hear about that in general, maybe before I ask anything specific. But you taught recently a writing class that you came up with, which was sort of centered around the moon.
Yeah. I taught it like from like throughout the course of a moon cycle, so from like one new moon to like the next new moon, and then like the full moon happens in the middle of it. And the readings that I assigned each week and the prompts that I came up with all were kind of based on like whatever the moon was doing. Like for example, like for the full moon, I assigned readings that were kind of like maximal or like celebratory in some way, or like felt like some kind of like culmination of something, because those are kind of the like themes and ideas that come up when you like read about the full moon. And then the prompt, how did I put the prompt? It was like something about just like writing something that incorporated or like addressed those themes in some way, or like was maximal in some way. And yeah, I was really nervous to teach that class because I just hadn't taught in so long, and the only teaching that I'd ever done was at UMass, like while I was in grad school, which was like fun in some ways, but also like so difficult in other ways. Just like trying to, I don't know, my like classes were always like, the creative writing classes were like so big, and it would be like half students who like were really excited about writing and like wanted to like learn more and like were super into it, and then the other half would be kind of like people who are just taking it because they like thought it would be easy, or it's like fulfilling a credit or whatever, and which is fine. I was just always like, oh, how do I like reach everybody? I don't know, I just felt like so socially exhausted by it, and then just like having to think about like grades and attendance and just everything that like teaching within an institution like makes you think about. But I was like, I don't really care about any of this. Like, it doesn't matter. So
imagine if you organized your own workshop and you were like, yeah, I'm gonna grade you.
that would be so evil. Just like yeah, show up, or I'm gonna like, yeah,
don't mention it before.
Like, yeah.
Oh my god.
Or just like, yeah, like send an email to everyone at the end and just be like, by the way, you like, I'm giving you like an A-. Like, what the fuck?
That would be so funny. I mean, like, it wouldn't, but it's like a good idea for like a story, maybe.
Yeah.
But not if to do to real life.
Yeah.
But so when you taught like in a more sort of like casual, I mean, it's like probably like more serious in a way because the people really are invested in it and want to do it, but it's also chill.
Yeah. It was very like, I don't know, productive doesn't feel like totally the right word, but I don't know, like everyone like wrote such cool things, and we like had like really cool like conversations about all of it. and and sometimes I felt like I kind of felt like there wasn't that much that I even like needed to do, because everyone would be like talking so much and like so excited, and I would just be like, oh, okay, this I'm just like hosting the Zoom meeting. Like everyone else is kind of taking care of everything, which was, I don't know, it was just really exciting to kind of like to just kind of like witness that, just to kind of see everyone's like kind of creative and like intellectual like processes at work. It all just kind of made me like kind of emotional. And it like just reminded me how much fun teaching can be, which was great.
Yeah. And it's such a great idea for a course because you can do it again and again. I
Yeah,
guess like you can repeat it with different people, or even probably at a different time of year, like it'll feel like a different thing.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds really cool. And do you, so you, like you mentioned that like you're doing some workshops now. You did an MFA, you did some workshops in college, you taught some workshops. Personally, I've never been in a workshop, so like I don't know what happens. Like what is the like what do you do in a workshop?
Well, it can, so it can go like a lot of different ways. Like the classic kind of like MFA like academic workshop will be like everyone will have their like poem or whatever that they've written for the week, and then when it's your turn to be workshopped, like you'll like usually like you'll read your poem, and then you're like not allowed to talk for 20 minutes or however long, while everyone else just like discusses your work as though you're like not in the room. And it's just like
That sounds horrible.
it is horrible. Like best case scenario, and I feel like this like very rarely happens, like people will notice things that you like hadn't considered before, or like will have some cool idea like about your poem, but usually it's just like people saying irrelevant things or like totally misunderstanding like what you wrote, and then you're like not allowed to correct them until like the last like 2 minutes, when the teacher will be like, do you have any questions like or anything you want to clarify? And then at that point you're just like so exhausted and mad that you're just like, nope, like, and it just, and then it just feels like there's pressure to like move on to the next person. And um it's just
Oh
like,
no.
yeah, it just like feels bad, but it doesn't have to be that way. And I tried to like part of the moon class was like I wanted to like work against that kind of structure as much as I could. Um so I was like always trying to encourage people to like if like to like be part of the conversation if there are like specific questions that you have, or if there's like really specific feedback that you want, to just like be clear about that. And then to just like if you want to just like sit back and listen to what everyone else has to say, like you can do that. But if you want to like respond like as the conversation's happening, I tried to like really encourage that.
Yeah. Wow. I but you obviously you find this like you find the structure of being like in a group like helpful.
Yeah, yeah, I think like I think it can be helpful to just like I guess just to have like so many different, like, kind of to hear like so many different perspectives like on your writing, and then just like it can be a cool chance to kind of like to like yeah, to like get some questions answered if you're like, oh, I wasn't sure like how this like image was working, then like you can kind of hear a lot of different ideas about that. And then sometimes people will kind of like play off of each other, and someone will be like, oh, I thought like this part could sound like this way, and then someone else will be like, oh yeah, and then kind of like build off of that. And these really kind of like cool, like just like organic like brainstorming sessions start happening. Oh my god.
And I suppose it's like you've just disappeared now.
I know.
I suppose you also like through working on this is like funny, we're just like discussing like what is a workshop because I don't know. But like through like discussing other people's work, you like it helps you come up with ideas for your own, I guess.
Yeah.
Like yeah,
Yeah.
just like sort of working through things in that way.
Yeah. 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 And I think it was cool, or I think it was cool in the like moon class, like just to see like to have like the prompt be this like one specific thing, and then like just to see how like just all the different ways that everyone kind of interpreted it, or like the directions people ended up going in. um and yeah, which can be like, I think, exciting and helpful if you see like somebody else's interpretation of the prompt, and then you're kind of like, oh, I would never have thought to like think about it that way. And then that can be something that you like then interpret for yourself, and then maybe it changes your work, like your own writing, in some subtle or major way.
I mean, it's like very social. So maybe you are a social person.
Yeah, yeah, maybe I am more social than I like have always considered myself.
I literally just write everything by myself, and then like when I think it's finished, I send it to Sarah Jean, and then that's it. Like I just wait to see what she has to say, and then I'm like, okay, thank you, and then I'll go back to like do a little more. But like I like the idea of like being in like a group, like I just like I can't, I don't know. I mean, it sounds fun being in like your class, but the idea of doing that in like any sort of formal place, like I'm just like, no, I don't I don't think I would ever want to do that.
Yeah, it can definitely
Um,
go like horribly wrong, but it
yeah.
doesn't have to, but it can. It just like sometimes it's just like, I don't know, sometimes it's just like the wrong group of people, and it,
Right.
it just
Well,
doesn't
that's
work.
the thing. Like if you don't think they're very good, then you don't care what they say. And then
Yeah.
if you do think that, then it if you like their work, I guess it's like more exciting, right? But I can imagine you could end up in a group where you're just like, I don't give a shit what you think about my poetry.
Yeah, yeah, and that like that was the case, like that was honestly the case in grad school so much of the time. Just these like just just there were some people who I was just like, I was just like, okay, like whatever.
Yeah.
I guess I have to like listen to what you're gonna say because we're like sitting here in this workshop together. But really I would
Yeah.
just rather not.
Um, okay, well, would you want to read something from is it you're going to read something from the Moan Wilds?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great.
I think I have it pulled up here. Um,
Does it require any introduction? I could do an introduction. Introducing Caroline Rayner.
Okay. I had like one. Wait, is this the part that I was gonna read? Okay. Yeah.
We've talked about the book so much that I think people, if they don't already know what it's about, then there's nothing we can do. You just have to share the
Yeah.
actual work.
Yeah. I'm kind of like, for some reason, I'm like feeling like, oh, like what context do I need to like provide for this? But like, I don't know. It's just I'm just gonna read from it, and just, I guess, again, if people have like questions, they should just ask me.
Yeah,
Okay.
especially if those people are publishers, agents.
Yeah. If anyone
I
wants
don't
to
know.
like put this out, it's not done yet, but like if you're down to wait a little while and like put it out
Mm.
eventually, then like, yeah, those people should get in touch with me. Okay,
But
I'm gonna.
also they'll have to sorry.
So sorry. Go
I was gonna
ahead.
I was gonna say, but also they'll have to compete with me because I'm not ready yet, but I might start my own press one day. And then if I did, like, I would have to fight with those people who want to publish your book.
Yeah, I would. I mean, your press would probably. I would want to put it out on your press, for sure, because.
Thank you. It doesn't exist, but if it did, I feel like it would be a great match.
And that's like, it's. I guess I'm about to like go on a little bit of a tangent, but I was just like thinking about.
Sorry.
It's like, well, whatever. I was thinking about publishing like earlier today, and I was just thinking about like, I don't know, just like how annoying the whole process is of putting your manuscript together, and then you like have to wait until presses have like their open reading periods or like their contests or whatever, and then you like send it out and hope that like whatever editor is like in the right kind of mood to like want to publish your book, and if they're not, then they don't, and then you just have to like do it all again, and it's just like grueling and horrible.
And then even and then even if they do, you have to wait like 4 years, and then they like give you some horrible cover, and it's just like you don't even care about it by then. I mean, maybe you do, but like I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like very obvious that we should really somebody should start their own press, and we should just make really all the cool books that I know about. I'm like, oh come on, how hard can it be? But I think it's hard.
Yeah, I think there's like,
I,
yeah, kind of a lot to do, but
I think I would love to do the editing and the creative parts of it, but I need a business partner so that I can start my press and publish Caroline's book.
yeah, if anyone like knows about business.
When I say a business partner, it's not like someone I don't want to be involved in the business. I just that will be their role.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't really know. Sorry, I interrupted you when you were just about to start reading, and then but I'm ready now.
But okay, yeah. I guess, yeah, I feel like I could just like say like, yeah, I hope I can like find a way to put this book out and like have it be like on a friend's press and have like friends like do the cover and like just everything. I don't know. That's like a whole other conversation, I guess. I should just read now.
Yeah, I'm just like thinking of who can do the cover, but yeah, please read.
Yeah, I have some ideas, but I don't have to get into it now. I don't want to call anyone out. Okay. Okay, I guess no one else has this in front of them, so it doesn't make sense to say what page it's on. Anyway. Listen, baby, the wine. Listen, the whole fucking afternoon, bruised like a rose. Listen, the blue heaves into the dark, crumpling the velvet, forgetting to soak it in the bathtub. Meanwhile, the river does what it viciously does. Cerulean or ceaseless, depending. It might saturate your body and mine, or it might carry your body and mine to the chapel where one woman evaporated and the other became a cave. Formless and holding, mist of that night tumbling into something that wanted to accumulate where I still like to keep the cards. The high priestess said, the hanged man said, lavender for this, lavender for that, sparkling, I promise. The more sediment, the better. Now do you see? Electricity in the bowl, like anemone in full bloom and water, only vibrating, burning a little, then escaping through the window I flung to make the house cool. Anyway, the truth is that I hear nothing until you throw your voice like you do, your hair like you do, the cosmology of it sending me. I could slide it between my teeth, I could ease it apart with my teeth, I could make it a little more like rain with my teeth, silk with my teeth. How else to deal with the fact that lacunae can be found in language and in bone, but not in the sky? Nothing, seriously nothing ricochets like when you screech, baby. You demon rewinding all 12 hours of the movie, insisting. Legs, destroying, you masochist. Blooming at night, you tornado. I go out and find something to drink. Again, with sediment. Magnolia for curling, mimosa for running. Shit harnessed in that fragment of totality. Shit poured into a bottle from the mountain. Shit recalling devastation, lethargic in the passenger seat. Forgiving until jaded. Horizontal in the grass. Blushing like a figure skater, weeping like a saint. Hold on, baby. Remember to make a fountain with your hands. Welcome to compassion season, baby. Welcome to hell. Could be whipped into shape except for how it leaks. Anyway, the water. I snap into the evening or the basic glory of the weekend. I fix your bathing suit. Twisting again until it decides to stay. When partial, the moon demands my least impressive dress, my personal hell. Remind me, baby, where my hips go, where you usually do. Hunting light, smoke light, everyone knows what will mess with it. You could call it crass, but then what? Spiral. Emerge oblivious with nothing but a hangover to show for it. Snake of light on your cheek, baby, there you go, swinging. Just like the woman in the movie, or the woman who always seemed older, in her sleeveless dress, because she knew the band. Wandering into this hour of the day, like the silk I brought, rippling, too much flash, whatever. Clutch the water, bear with it, listen. If it catches, it'll do anything. That's it.
Wow. I think that someone's going to want to publish it before I start my press.
It would be nice to have that part taken care
of. So good. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you for having me and doing this with me.
Anytime. Yeah, no, it's really nice. I just feel like it's good. Like we could have this conversation anyway, but it's nice to be able to record it and then other people can listen to it, and also we can listen to it in the future and we'll be like, wow, remember when we thought those things?
Yeah, I remember when we were, I was about to say, remember when we were doing a book club, but maybe we'll still be doing the book club. It could just go on and on.
I hope so. I mean, like, I'll probably just, I'm sure I'll read books after we're allowed outside, so
yeah,
might as well continue. I thought that we would just do like a few weeks, but now it's been nearly a year and seems to be growing stronger all the time, so
yeah,
let's keep going.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you for this actually did feel like a profound experience of poetry, so thank you.
Thank you.